Today's court proceedings were nothing short of dramatic. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, took his fight in court to a whole new level. He presented a motion in front of the trial judge, which, let's be real, was reluctantly accepted. Kanu's request was simple but powerful. He wanted the court to identify the law under which he was being tried. The thing is, every time he's raised this, the court has refused to clarify it, which makes you wonder, what are they hiding? Now things got heated when Kanu persisted, and the judge finally told him, go ahead, read the charges aloud. So Kanu did. And when he read those charges, something unbelievable happened. It became clear that the law they're trying him under doesn't even exist anymore. It's a non-existent law. Can you believe that? A whole trial based on a law that's no longer valid. That's got to raise some serious questions about the legitimacy of the whole process. The judge, understandably flustered, didn't take kindly to this. And instead of clearing things up, the judge just angrily scheduled a judgment date for November 20th. Yes, the case is being pushed forward, but is the law even valid? That's the question we should all be asking. If the foundation of the trial is shaky, can anything that follows really stand? This whole situation sheds light on a much bigger issue. If this case is about making an example of Kanu for his political beliefs, are we really getting justice? Or is this just about silencing dissent? Because let's be honest, this entire trial feels more like a political move than a legal process. It's a story that's bigger than just one man. It's about the freedom of expression, about the right to question authority, and about whether or not justice is actually being served. Now think about this. Why has it taken so long to bring clarity to the charges Kanu is facing? How can a whole legal system keep someone locked up under a law that isn't even in place? And let's talk about fairness here. How many other Nigerians are facing a similar situation but don't have the platform Kanu has to speak out? It's an eye-opener. If Kanu's right, this might be a pattern, and it makes you wonder how many others are getting caught up in legal technicalities. And let's get into the bigger picture for a second. This trial isn't just about Kanu. It's about the whole concept of justice in Nigeria. If the court can't even answer a simple question about the legal grounds for a trial, then what's happening behind the scenes? It makes you think, doesn't it? What if this is just one of many similar cases that the public never hears about? What if people are just being shuffled through the legal system without anyone ever questioning the foundation of the charges? There's also the question of political implications here. Kanu's trial has divided many people. On one side, you have those who believe Kanu is a hero, standing up for his people and his beliefs. On the other, there are those who see him as a threat to national unity. But no matter where you stand on the political spectrum, it's hard to ignore how the legal system is being used or misused in this case. Is Kanu being persecuted because of his political views? Or is this about upholding the law? If it's about upholding the law, shouldn't the law actually be clear? Shouldn't the charges be backed by a solid existing law? What's really fascinating here is that Kanu isn't backing down. He's not just accepting what's being thrown at him. He's pushing for clarity, for fairness, and for transparency. And while it might look like he's playing the game by the book, he's actually challenging the system itself. He's forcing the court to confront its own flaws. And that's something that could have a ripple effect across the entire country. If the system fails to address this, it sends a message to everyone else in the legal system. You can get away with whatever you want as long as you've got the power to do so. And then we have to consider the future of this case. November 20th is the day the judgment is expected to be delivered, and everyone's watching closely. Will the court finally acknowledge the inconsistencies in the charges, or will they continue to push forward with a trial that may not even be legal? If the judge upholds this trial without addressing the major concerns about its validity, it will only fuel the belief that the system is biased and broken. Now, imagine what this means for the public. This trial has become a flashpoint for people who feel that their rights are being trampled on. They see Kanu's case as bigger than just one individual. It represents a system that they believe is stacked against them, where the law is used as a weapon to silence voices of dissent. And the fear is, if Kanu can be tried under a non-existent law, who's next? What does that mean for ordinary people who don't have the same platform to speak out? It's all about trust, or the lack thereof. The public is watching, and they're not just watching Kanu's fate, they're watching the entire system. If the system fails Kanu, it fails everyone. It makes it harder for people to trust that the law will protect him, especially when it's clear that the rules are being bent or broken. And when trust in the system erodes, that's when things get really dangerous. People start to question everything, and that's how instability begins. But for now, we wait. We wait to see if Kanu gets his day in court, if the judge addresses the concerns about the law, or if it's all swept under the rug. The date is set for November 20th, and the pressure is on. Will justice be served? Or will the legal system continue to show cracks that can't be ignored? As we keep watching this unfold, it's important to keep asking the tough questions. Is this really about justice, or is it about something bigger? The world is watching, and whatever happens next will speak volumes about the state of law and justice in Nigeria. Whether you support Kanu or not, we all have to agree on one thing. The system needs to work for everyone, not just the powerful. As we're looking at this situation, it's hard to ignore the broader implications of this case. If the court refuses to acknowledge that Kanu is being tried under an invalid law, what does that say about the legal system as a whole? We often hear about how the system is flawed, but this trial seems to be a glaring example of what can go wrong when laws aren't followed properly. Think about it. This isn't just about Kanu. It's about setting a precedent. If the court lets this go through without addressing the fact that the law is no longer in effect, it could open the door for other high-profile cases to be mishandled in the same way. It could send a dangerous message that legal standards can be bent for the sake of convenience or political gain. And then there's the issue of accountability. Kanu's motion to clarify the charges highlights a deep concern about the lack of transparency in how cases are handled. If he can't even get a straightforward answer about the legal basis of his trial, how many others are out there being tried under questionable circumstances without the chance to challenge it? The implications for fair trials are massive. If the public sees that a well-known figure like Kanu can't even get clarity on his charges, what about the ordinary person who might not have the same resources or platform? There's also the angle of public perception. The fact that this trial has drawn so much attention, both domestically and internationally, shows just how much people care about the outcome. Whether you're for or against Kanu, this trial is seen as a test case for the Nigerian legal system. It's about whether the system can work fairly, whether justice can be dispensed without political interference, and whether the rights of every individual are respected under the law. Now, we know that Kanu is not the only person to have faced a trial that many would argue was politically motivated. But the fact that he's fighting back, challenging the legality of the charges, and demanding transparency is what makes this case so important. It's not just a fight for one man, but a battle for the rights of all Nigerians who may one day find themselves facing similar situations. But what happens when the system fails? Well, it's not just the individual who suffers, it's the entire country. When people lose faith in the justice system, they lose trust in the government, and that's when things can really start to unravel. People need to know that the law applies to everyone equally, regardless of their position, their wealth, or their political views. If they don't, then we're left with a system that only serves those who have power. And that's what makes Kanu's persistence so crucial. He's not just challenging the court, he's challenging the system itself. By forcing the court to address the issue of the law under which he's being tried, he's pushing for a system that is transparent, fair, and accountable. He's not just looking for his own freedom, he's looking for a change that could benefit everyone. The fact that he's sticking to his guns in this way is a testament to his belief in the importance of a fair trial and whether you agree with him or not. That's something worth paying attention to. Now, when the judge sets a judgment date for the November 20th, it's clear that the stakes are high. But the question remains, will the court address the legal flaws that Kanu has pointed out, or will they ignore them and proceed as if nothing's wrong? If the court continues with the trial without addressing the core issue, the invalidity of the law, it could undermine its own credibility. It could further alienate those who already feel that the system is not working in their favor. In the meantime, it's important to keep in mind the role of public opinion. As the case moves forward, there will undoubtedly be debates and discussions, both in Nigeria and around the world. How the court handles this issue could shape how the world sees the Nigerian legal system moving forward. If the public feels like this case is being mishandled, it could lead to protests, public outcry, and a loss of trust in the courts. On the other hand, if the court addresses the concerns about the invalid law, it could help restore some confidence in the system and show that the law truly applies to everyone. As we wait for the judgment on November 20th, let's keep an eye on how this case plays out. Will Kanu's challenge be heard? Or will the court continue as if the charges are valid? Will this be a turning point for the Nigerian legal system? Or will it be another example of how the system fails those who question authority? One thing is for sure, the outcome of this case will have a lasting impact. Whether Kanu is found guilty or not, the real question is whether the legal system will be able to restore faith in its ability to deliver justice. If the court's actions are seen as fair and transparent, it could go a long way in rebuilding trust. But if the process is rushed or brushed aside, it could leave a permanent scar on the nation's legal system. So, as always, keep your eyes on this case. It's more than just the trial of one man, it's a critical moment for the rule of law in Nigeria. And no matter where you stand on the issue, it's something that we all need to pay attention to because in the end, justice for one person is justice for all. All right, that's the latest on the Nnamdi Kanu case. What do you think? Do you think the charges should be dismissed because the law is no longer in effect? Will the court rule fairly on November 20th? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and make sure to like this video and subscribe for more updates as this case unfolds. Thanks for sticking with me and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned.